Hello everyone. Today I'm bringing you a Nigerian spaghetti recipe that I've made. It's really easy and I hope you guys enjoy this video and recreate the recipe. So to start, I'm going to make the spicy chicken first. And this is soft chicken and I'm going to boil it just the way I do my other recipes. Boiling it primarily because I need the broth. And I'm using my regular spices. I just put in cloves, ground cloves. Now I'm adding some salt, some black pepper, and 2 Nigerian Maggie cubes. And then when I'm done, I'll follow up with that liquid is from some peppers I blended, and then I sieved the water out from the pepper paste, and then I'm using the water here for the chicken. I went in and added in some red peppers. Now I'm boiling the chicken for the spaghetti, and this chicken is just going to boil for 15 to 20 minutes. We don't want it to be completely soft. And then when it's done boiling, I'm going to let it sit for an hour so everything settles in. So now I'm just checking in to see how the chicken is doing. Again, we don't want it to cook until it falls apart. We just want it to be perfectly cooked, and then we'll take it off the stove. So now the chicken is cooked. I let it cool for a bit, and now I'm going to take the chicken out of the broth, because that broth is going to be used for the spaghetti sauce. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm taking out the chicken. So that's the chicken, and I'm going to measure out the broth. I got about I think about 3 cups of chicken broth from this stock, and you can see the color is very, very rich because of, again, the pepper fluid that we got, that we use to cook the meat. I'll show you how to get the pepper fluid in a bit. So now I'm going to go ahead and blend my peppers for my pepper chicken. I'm going to use 4 spicy Habaneros peppers. I think about 6 peppers, and just 1/4 of red bell pepper. And I'm going to blend that in my Nigerian blender. I added a bit too much water. If you're doing this, don't add too much water. Just put enough water to coat each chicken. I didn't have that much chicken, so I miscalculated. So yeah, so I'm just blending the peppers. See, it's very liquid, but it doesn't really matter because it will dry up in the oven anyways. Now I'm putting the chicken back in the pot. This is the same pot I used to cook the chicken. I just took out the broth and put it back in, and I will add in the pepper that I just blended. I'm just trying to reposition my camera. Just adding the pepper, and then I'm just going to let that mix it, make sure every chicken is coated, and then just let it sit there on the table or the countertop for at least 20 minutes. Just so it soaks up the spiciness of the pepper, even though I really did not need for it to sit that long, because the habaneros are really, really spicy and hot. So now that the chicken has been sitting in there, I added some olive oil. This will just help it in the oven so that, you know, it cooks well and doesn't stick to the baking sheet. So now I just put everything on my baking sheet, my baking pan, popping that in the oven 400 degrees Fahrenheit for 30 minutes, and voila, this is what it looks like. So it's very crispy and soft on the inside, and it's very spicy. So that's the spicy chicken recipe that we're going to use to eat our spaghetti. Just taking it out of the pan so I can wash the baking sheet. And I'm just trying to scrape off some of the paste that was on it so I can put it on top of the chicken. Just make sure you don't take the burnt pieces, the burnt, you know, spices. So everything, the burnt spices will make it taste, you know, sour. So just take any you know, any sauce that is left over that can be used for the chicken. You can just scrape it off and put it on the chicken. So that's our spicy chicken. It's really tastes really good. And now I'm going to go ahead and make my spaghetti sauce. I'm just going to blend the habanero peppers, a little bit of onions, and 1 whole red bell peppers, just to give it that Nigerian, you know, Nigerian stew flavor. And I'm just going to blend that just like I did the other sauce, sorry, the other paste for the chicken. And that crushed tomato, tin tomato, is what I'm using for the spaghetti. And I'm not using any fresh tomato for this, because I like how it tastes using the canned tomato. Although you can just make stew and cook it like you cook jollof, but I just opted out. I just wanted it to be quick and easy. So that's our peppers ready, our pepper mix and onion ready to be cooked. That's what it looks like. And then here, this is the pepper mix. I'm going to go ahead and filter out the liquid, so that you know, if you grind pepper and you cook it, try to dry the water on the stove. You know, everyone starts coughing because of how spicy it is. So what you do is you drain it just to get the water out. And then what I used to cook the chicken earlier was this same mixture that I blended in a previous meal I was cooking. I didn't film it, but this is what I used to cook the chicken in the first place. That's what I did. So if you don't have time and you need to cook quickly, that's what you do. You can do it with tomatoes as well. You know, just blend it and then take a strainer and then filter out the liquid and keep the paste, which is what I did here. Now I'm going to go ahead and start cooking the sauce. I'm going to first take the canned tomatoes. This is tomato sauce, and that's the one I had from a previous meal I made, leftovers. And I'm going to put it in the pan to just reduce the fluid in it. So I want it to be thicker than it is right now. So that's why I'm putting it in the pan first, and that will just take just a little bit, like 30 minutes. As you can see, we've reduced it a little bit, and I will take it out of the pan so I can use that same pan to you know, to make the actual sauce after reducing the tomato sauce that I just showed you guys. So now I put in some olive oil. I'm going to go ahead and saute some onions. Just put in a little bit of red onions just for some flavor. You can use white or yellow onions if you want, but I prefer to use red onions in all my cooking because it has way more flavor. I'm gonna go ahead and just saute that for about 5 minutes or until it's a bit transparent, and then I'm gonna go ahead and add the pepper mix. That's the pepper we blended and strained. I'm going to add that in with the onions. Oh, this is just for extra flavor and extra spiciness that we want in the spaghetti. The olive oil was a bit too thin for frying, so I went in and added in some canola oil so that it cooks a bit more. It cooks well because it was just about to start burning, so I just added in some vegetable oil. You can feel free to add in more olive oil if you want, but olive oil it's not really good for frying. It's just good for sauteing, just if you just like light frying. So I just added that and go ahead and continue frying a little bit. So just fry lightly. This just fries for about 15 minutes, and then I'm going to go ahead and add my tomato sauce or crushed tomatoes that I just reduced. Just going to add that to the pan and let it cook with the peppers. And I use a lot of tomatoes because when you're cooking spaghetti, spaghetti is dough. It's rolled out flour that has been, shaped to be very, very thin. So you always want to have a lot of sauce when you're making spaghetti so that the spaghetti will soak up the sauce and taste good. You don't want it to taste bland. So always have extra sauce. Even if you don't use it up, you can always keep it for later. But in my case, I use mine a lot. I use it up because I made a lot of spaghetti, so it can last me a few days. So that's going to cook for 10 minutes. And you can see everything is nicely mixed in together. I'm going to go ahead and stir it. It's a really easy recipe. It's easy to follow. Again, remember I cook simultaneously. Just because I showed you the chicken doesn't mean I only cook chicken first. I just filmed it and edited it. I just edited it that way so it's easy to follow. So right there I added in some dry pepper, and now I'm adding some paprika for some smoky taste or smoky flavor. Remember to always reduce the heat before you open the pan so that it doesn't splash everywhere. Or you can just take the pan completely off the stove or cooker and then add in your sauce and then put it back on the cooker to cook. If you think it's too if it splashes too much and you think it's dangerous. So that right there is the beef broth I used. I had cooked previously in the previous recipe, and that was the leftover stock I just added in, and that what I added secondly was the chicken stock that I just made in the beginning of the video. That's you can see the tomato sauce is quite liquid, and we're just gonna let that cook down until it becomes thick again. So the tomato sauce takes the most time here, of course, because we're cooking now. But remember, you don't want it to be the final tomato sauce. You don't want it to be a stew consistency. You want it to be more saucy, more like kind of like ketchup texture. You want it to be a little bit light. So I went in ahead and added a little bit more peppers, dried peppers, because it wasn't spicy enough for my taste. And then that's going to cook down again. I think that cooked now for another 20 minutes. I can't remember the time. But yeah, you just want to make sure you're watching this. You're in the kitchen watching it. Because if you go to the living room or if you go somewhere else, you forget about it, it's going to burn. You can see now we've cooked that down. And I went in and added in 1 Maggie cube. And then forget that spaghetti taste or that Italian flavor, you add oregano to it as a spice, an Italian spice. You can find it anywhere. So you can see it's quite it's not as, the sauce is thicker than it was, but it's not as thick as Nigerian stew. That's kind of, this is what you want actually. Remember, the spaghetti sauce, the spaghetti will absorb the sauce in the spaghetti will absorb the sauce, and it would taste way nicer if you make your sauce a bit light as opposed to too thick. So I just went in and added in some sauce, some salt. Yeah, just taste as you go. If you like less seasoning, don't add much. If you like more seasoning, then add more. So this is my spaghetti. I used 2 whole boxes of spaghetti, and when the water was boiling, I added in butter, just a little bit of 1 tablespoon of butter, so that the spaghetti does not stick together. Even though some people don't add it butter, but you know, just so that everything comes out right and nothing sticks together. I always make sure I add either oil or butter. So now that the spaghetti is half cooked, I took it off the stove and I'm going to put it under cold water so that the spaghetti stops cooking immediately. And now we're going to mix everything together, the spaghetti and the sauce, and I'm going to do this in batches, and I recommend everyone to do this technique when you're cooking spaghetti, especially if you've never made spaghetti before. Just take a little bit of the sauce, put it in a big bowl, a big pan, and then when you're done, add the spaghetti to it, batch by batch, piece by piece. This technique is especially useful if you're making a lot of pasta, which I am doing right now. So you see that? Remember, your spaghetti is half cooked. You don't want it to be fully cooked, because what you're doing essentially is you're cooking it again. You are continuing the cooking process, and the spaghetti will get softer. And if it's already fully cooked when you made it the first time, it's going to get mushy. So make sure that your spaghetti is half cooked. So there you go. You add the spaghetti, add the sauce. Add the sauce, spaghetti, or you can do spaghetti sauce. Well, I do sauce and then I do spaghetti. So just do that. Or if you don't feel comfortable cooking a lot at a time, just do what you can now, like just put that small portion, add the sauce to it, and then leave the spaghetti and sauce separately, and when you're ready to eat again, you can come back and mix everything together. But you know, I don't really have time to just be mixing up every time I want to eat, so I went ahead and mixed in the spaghetti and the sauce all at once, and I did that in batches, just like I'm doing now. Yeah, I always say make sure you have as much sauce as you can, because this will make it taste really good. So that's it, guys. That's pretty much the recipe. I'm just going to add the sauce and add my spaghetti and stir, making sure everything is uniformly mixed. So I'll just let you guys watch it. So I'm done mixing it in. So I just let the sauce, I just let the spaghetti set. I wanted everything to be thoroughly mixed and everything to taste really good, so I left it on the stove on medium, on high heat. And then now I'm adding in some butter for some extra flavor. This is optional, but I find that this makes everything, it just brings everything together, the butter. So just put it everything in and make sure everything is mixed uniformly, just like that. And then just for some extra garnishing, I'm going to chop up 3 medium-sized tomatoes. And then I'm just going to put that into the spaghetti. This is just for aesthetics, you don't need to do this, but I just like the tomato sauce. You know, when you see the tomatoes with the spaghetti, it just looks really nice and it tastes really good too. So I'm just going to add that, and then I'm going to tuck, or should I say fold in the tomatoes under the spaghetti so that the heat from the spaghetti will cook the tomatoes, because I turned off the heat here, so it's completely off now. So I just push the tomatoes under the spaghetti so that the heat will cook it. So now that everything is soaked and everything is uniformly mixed, I'm going to flip over the spaghetti, because one thing you will notice is that the sauce will settle under the pasta or any other, you know, meal that you're cooking with any type of sauce. The flavor will settle underneath it, so you want to go ahead and flip everything the other way around, so that the sauce, so that the tastiest parts will come to the top. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just flipping everything over so that we can get the flavors to the top of the pan and everyone can get, you know, the richness of the pasta, because we've worked really hard to get the flavor. So I want us to, you know, get our results right from the get-go. We don't have to wait till, oh, the spaghetti is almost finished and oh my god, it tastes really good, when we really have like 2 spoons left. So always make sure you stir everything to the top of it, so everyone can get the richness and can also see the hard work you've put into the meal. I just diced up some coriander. That's just for garnishing. We're not going to put it in the spaghetti because some people don't like it. Just going to dish it out. Oops, some of it spilled. Just, yeah, that's my what do you call those things? Spaghetti holder? Yeah, but it has like those hooks that helps, you know, help you take your spaghetti out and put it in the plate. Making sure I get those tomato chunks, and then I'm just going to sprinkle in some coriander leaves on it. This is just for aesthetics. This is no reason at all. You don't need to add this to your food, but I figured it will look good for the video. And that's it, guys. That's the spaghetti and spicy chicken. Thank you for watching this video and staying with me. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Thank you for spending your day with me. Doing a taste check here, and it tastes good, trust me. So thank you guys, and have a blessed weekend. Bye bye.